The wind screamed across the frozen land. Snow fell fast, thick and cold. White hills stretched far in every direction. There was no color, no light, no life, except for one small shape. A mother sat in the snow, holding her child close to her chest. Her skin was pale blue, cracked and dry from the cold. Her long silver hair was covered in ice. She rocked back and forth, singing softly. Her voice was weak, but full of love. The child, just a baby, was very sick. His eyes were closed. His small body shook. He made no sound. The mother pulled him closer, trying to give him her warmth. But she had little warmth left. They had been running for days. Their home was destroyed. Their people were gone. War had taken everything. Now, only the two of them remained. The mother sang in her own language. It was a lullaby, a song passed down from mother to child. A song for peace. A song for sleep. Sleep now, my little star. Let the cold not touch your heart. In the snow, I will hold you near. In the dark, I will keep you safe. Her voice cracked. She was tired. So tired, but she kept singing. Then the baby moved, just a little. His fingers twitched. The mother smiled weakly, but deep inside, she knew the truth. She would not survive the night. The snow was too strong, the wind too cruel, her body was too weak. Her baby might have a chance if someone found him, but who? Their world was broken. Soldiers hunted survivors. The sky was empty. No ships came. No one cared. Still, she sang. Then, crunch, another sound, footsteps. Heavy, slow, coming closer. She turned her head, eyes wide with fear. Not animal, not machine, a person. Someone was walking toward her through the snow. A tall figure, wearing a dark suit. A helmet covered the face. Snow crunched under heavy boots. The mother held her child tight. Her heart raced. Was this an enemy? She tried to stand, but her legs gave way. She fell back into the snow. The figure stopped a few steps away. Silence. Snow fell between them. Then, the figure removed its helmet. A face. Not alien. Human. The mother gasped. Her people had only heard stories of humans. Dangerous. Strange. From far stars. They had not seen one in many years. The human had kind eyes. Tired eyes. A scar ran across his cheek. He looked down at the mother and child. He spoke, but she did not understand the words. Still, his voice was calm, gentle. He knelt beside them and opened a small bag. He took out a packet and poured something into a cup. Steam rose. The smell was sweet, warm. He held it out to the mother. She looked at it, then at him. She did not move. He took off one glove and sipped the drink himself, then offered it again. Slowly, with shaking hands, she took the cup. Warmth. Tears filled her eyes. The baby moved again. The human reached into the bag and pulled out a small tube. Medicine. He gently touched the baby's forehead and gave him a few drops. The mother watched, still unsure. But she saw no harm. No anger. Only care. She opened her mouth. Tried to speak. Her voice was dry. Save. My child. She whispered. The human looked at her. He seemed to understand. He nodded. He wrapped the baby in a thick blanket and held him close. The mother smiled. Just a little. Then her head slowly rested back against the snow. Her eyes closed. Her lips moved one last time. Sleep now, my little star. She did not finish the song. The snow covered her body. The human stood. The baby in his arms. He looked around the empty land. Then he began to walk. His footprints the only ones in the snow. ChatGPT said, the human walked through the storm, holding the child close to his chest. Snow hit his helmet. Ice clung to his suit. His breath came slow and heavy, but he did not stop. The baby was light, small, quiet now. too quiet. Inside his helmet, he spoke softly. "Just hold on, little one. I'm not letting you die out here." The cold wind answered with a howl. He moved fast but careful. The snow was deep, and the land full of cracks and hidden dangers. Long ago, this planet had forests, rivers, cities. Now there was only white silence and broken metal buried under ice. A blinking light appeared on his visor. He was close. He came over a ridge. Below him, half covered in snow, was a dark opening in the rocks, a small cave. He slid down and pushed. Through the frozen mouth. Inside, the wind died. It was quiet. Still cold, but safe from the storm. He tapped a panel on the wall. It clicked. Lights blinked on, weak and flickering. The cave wasn't just a cave. It was a hidden human outpost, built years ago during the First Contact War. Dust covered the floor. Old crates and wires lay scattered. Machines sat dead. But there was power. Not much, but enough. He took off. His helmet. His face was red from the cold, lips cracked. He laid the baby on a metal table, gently. The child's skin had turned a lighter shade of blue. Eyes closed, breath soft, still alive. He opened a small case and pulled out medical gear. A scanner buzzed. He frowned. The child's vitals were weak. Oxygen low, body cold. But there was time. He injected a warming shot, then wrapped the child. In a heat cloth, a soft hum filled the air. Slowly, warmth returned to the tiny body. The child made a sound, just a little one, a soft breath. Then a cough. The human smiled. "You're tough," he whispered. "Just like your mother." He sat down beside the table and looked at the child. He remembered the look in the mother's eyes, the way she had sung, even while dying. Her final words, "Save my child." He didn't even know her name. The child stirred. Tiny hands moved. Then, slowly, bright silver eyes opened. The human leaned forward. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now." The baby looked up at him. For a moment, there was peace. Then, a high-pitched sound cut through the silence. A warning beep. The human stood at once. He checked the scanner on the wall. Motion, outside. He moved to the door and pulled up a screen. Drones, 3 of them, flying low, scanning for life signs, not human drones. Alien machines, designed to find survivors and erase them. He cursed under his breath. He had to move. They would pick up the baby's heat signature. They were too close. He grabbed the child, packed supplies fast, and opened the back door. A narrow tunnel led away from the cave, through the rocks. The child whimpered softly. He hushed her, held her tight, and ran. Behind them, the cave lights went dark. Outside in the snow, the drones turned toward the cave. They had found something. But the man and the child were already gone, there. Footsteps vanishing into the storm. Asterisk. The wind howled like a wild beast behind them, but the human kept moving. His boots slipped on the frozen ground as he carried the child through the dark, narrow tunnel. The baby had fallen asleep again, her head resting against his chest, her breath slow but steady. Each step echoed off the rock walls. Each breath fogged the air in front of him. He didn't speak. Not even to himself now. There was no time. No room for fear or doubt. Only forward. The tunnel opened suddenly, spilling him into a deep canyon hidden from the sky, shielded from drones. Snow had piled here too, but less. In the far wall of the canyon, half buried in ice, something massive and black rose from the ground. It looked like a metal beast frozen in mid-roar. Its surface was smooth, scarred by time and fire. One side of it still blinked with a faint blue light. He had found it again. The fallback shelter. The human approached the metal door, brushing off ice with his gloved hand. He punched in a code on a hidden panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door hissed, coughed, and opened with a loud groan. Warm air hit. His face, dry, stale, but alive. He stepped inside quickly and let the door close behind them. The shelter lights flickered on in dull yellow. Rusted walls stretched into shadow. A place built for emergencies. A place forgotten by both humans and aliens. He lay the child down in a padded chamber and turned on the heat system. A soft hum filled the room as warm air began to flow. He watched her for a moment, then walked to the control desk. The systems were old, barely working. He brought up the map. Nothing but dead zones. No signals, no allies. The nearest human station was far beyond reach. He knew that before he came, but the shelter had one more secret. A hidden terminal deep in the back. He passed through a broken door, down a short hall, and entered the command room. And there it was, a chair, a console, and a glowing blue panel still active after all these years. He placed his hand on it. The screen woke. A soft voice spoke from the machine. "Welcome back, Commander." He stared at the screen. Files, logs, recordings. Some were from before the war. Some were messages never sent. He opened one at random. A woman's voice played, soft and tired. "We tried to help them, but they didn't trust us. And maybe we didn't try hard enough." He closed the file. He wasn't here for memories. He pulled up the signal relay, tapped in a series of emergency codes, and sent out a message. Not a call for help. He knew no one was coming for him. But maybe, just maybe, someone would hear. Somewhere, back in the main room, the child stirred. He returned to her side. She was awake now, blinking up at him. She didn't cry. She just looked at him, quiet and calm. Her skin had more color now. The medicine was working. He sat down beside her, unsure what to say. She reached out and touched his coat, then pointed to herself. Her voice was small, broken, strange. "Leah." He blinked. Was that her name? He repeated it softly. "Leah." She smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. The lights above them flickered, and far outside, in the white world beyond the canyon, the enemy drones circled above the last place he had been. It would not take them long to track heat, or signals, or footsteps. But for now, for this moment, the shelter held. The child slept. And the human kept watch. The silence shattered. A sharp alarm burst from the console, high-pitched, urgent, unnatural. The man was on his feet in seconds, already moving. He didn't need to read the screen. He already knew. They had found them. Leah stirred in the blanket, blinking at the sound. She didn't cry. She never did. She just looked at him with wide, silver eyes, waiting. He scooped her up in one motion and strapped the emergency satchel to his back. He had maybe 60 seconds. Maybe less. The drones outside weren't guessing anymore. They were coming fast. Sprinted down the corridor toward the exit tunnel, his boots thudding against the metal floor, echoing like gunshots in the tight space. He reached the hatch, slammed the panel, and it slid open with a hiss. Cold air blasted in. Snow was falling. Again. Always falling. He ran, through the narrow path, through the frozen canyon, over jagged stone and slick ice. No map, no plan. Just instinct. Behind him the mountain groaned. A boom tore through the air as the drones fired on the shelter. The earth shook beneath his feet. Heat licked his back. Leah gripped his coat tighter, pressing her face into his chest. He didn't look back. He kept moving, darting into a cave he had seen earlier, too small for a human ship, too narrow for a drone to follow without slowing. The entrance was almost hidden by snow. He slipped inside just as the first drone appeared over the ridge. Inside the cave, it was black. No light. No sound but his breath and Leah's tiny heartbeat against his chest. He pressed himself against the wall, barely breathing. Outside, the buzz of machines grew louder. They were searching now, watching for movement, for heat, for noise. One of them hovered close to the entrance. Too close. He held Leah tighter. His hand slowly reached for a thermal bomb in his pack. If it came inside, he'd bring the whole cave down with them. But the drone paused, waited, then turned slowly, and drifted away. It hadn't seen them, not yet. He waited another full minute in the dark, then another. Only when the sound faded did he move. The cave narrowed, winding down into the earth. He followed it, step by step, deeper into the dark, away from the sky, away from the signal, away from everything. At the bottom, the cave opened again, and what he saw stopped him cold. A deep pit, filled with frozen water. Ice so clear it looked like glass, and under it something old, something massive. Metal and light. A ship. Not alien. Human. It had crashed long ago and slid into the earth, hidden by time and snow. It was broken, bent, but parts of it still glowed faintly blue under the ice. He stepped closer, staring down. Leah looked too, her tiny hand resting on his shoulder. Then the ice cracked. Just once. A thin, sharp sound. He stepped back, but it was too late. The ground gave way. They fell. Down into the cold, into the dark, into the secret buried beneath the snow. ChatGPT said. The fall was silent. Cold wrapped around them like a second skin. The man twisted midair, holding Leah tight against him, using his body to shield hers. Ice shattered around them as they hit the frozen layer, crashing through like glass. The cold struck his bones like knives. Then water, dark, freezing, crushing. He kicked upward, lungs burning, one hand holding Leah, the other reaching for anything. The surface broke above them, a thin line of silver light. He pushed toward it with everything he had. They broke through. He gasped, air, real air. Leah coughed, then cried her first real cry. It was a good sound. They floated there for seconds in a pool of icy black, breath fogging the air, hearts racing. Around them, the remains of the ship stood silent beneath the surface. Steel walls, broken beams, blinking lights beneath the water. It was old, but not dead. He pulled them to the edge and climbed onto solid ground. Every part of him shook. His hands were turning white. He checked Leah, cold, scared, but alive. They were inside the ship now, or what was left of it. The walls were human design, curved metal, faded markings in Earth language, old mission symbols still scratched into the bulkhead. Lights flickered weakly above. Some systems were still running, not many but enough. He followed the flickering glow, boots leaving wet footprints as he walked. Leah was wrapped again, close to his chest, silent now. He passed broken doors, collapsed corridors. And then he found it, the bridge. It was half destroyed, but the main console still had power. Dust covered the screen. His gloved fingers brushed it clean. The screen flickered, then blinked to life. Reboot in progress. He watched, heart pounding. Last crew entry, 12 years ago. Emergency records found. A voice played. A woman's voice, soft, recorded in fear. If anyone finds this, we didn't attack them. It was a misfire. A broken system. They thought we lied. We didn't. We tried to explain. But the war started before we could stop it. He stood still. Another recording played, a man's voice. We left supplies behind, and this ship. They'll never believe it, but maybe, one day, someone will find this. Maybe a child. Maybe someone brave enough to stay. He stepped back, stunned. The truth, the war, the destruction, the loss, it wasn't meant to happen. It was never planned. It was a mistake. They weren't enemies. Not at the start. Leah shifted, murmuring in her sleep. He looked down at her small, fragile face. She didn't need war. She needed safety. He reached forward and tapped the console. Emergency beacon online. One button. That's all it took. He pressed it. A soft pulse began to hum, steady, silent, reaching for the stars. He didn't know who would hear it. Earth, maybe. Or someone else, but it was the only chance. Outside the wreck, above the frozen pit, the snow kept falling. But now, deep underground, a light blinked, and a signal whispered into space. They are still alive, light years away in the deep silence of space. A listening station blinked. A bored technician sat slumped in his chair, half asleep, staring at the screen without really seeing it, until a small red dot appeared in the corner. Not a glitch, not a test, a signal. He straightened, heartbeat quickening. He tapped the console, pulled up the data, and froze. Coordinates: the lost sector. Source: classified human vessel. Status: alive. His mouth went dry. Commander, he whispered into the comms. We just heard from the ghost zone. On the ruined planet below, the human sat quietly inside the wrecked ship. His hand rested on the edge of the console, eyes on the beacon, still blinking once every few seconds. It was working. The signal was out. He didn't know if anyone would come. But it was more hope than he'd had in years. Leah sat on his lap, playing with an old pilot badge she had found on the floor. She didn't know what it meant, but she held it like treasure. Her silver eyes kept watching him, like she was trying to read something in his face he couldn't hide. He smiled at her, tired but honest. "You're stronger than all of us, little star." She leaned her head against his chest and closed her eyes. Outside, the ice creaked. The wind above roared again, louder than before. And then he felt it. A subtle shift in pressure. A hum. He stood. No sound from the entrance. No alarm, but something was coming. He scooped Leah into his arms, grabbed his gear, and moved through the broken halls. Deeper into the wreck, the echo of footsteps reached him before he saw anything. Not human. Footsteps. He slipped into a shadowed corner, held his breath. Shapes moved at the far end of the hall, tall, armored, smooth, and bone-colored. The enemy. Not drones this time. Soldiers. 3 of them. He had no idea how they found him so fast. Maybe the signal, maybe old sensors on the surface. Maybe they had always been watching, waiting. He backed away slowly. But his boot hit a piece of metal, and it clanged against the floor. The soldiers stopped. One turned its head, inhuman eyes glowing faint red. They moved fast. He ran. Broken ship, slipping through gaps, climbing over debris. Leah was silent again, holding tight to his coat. She didn't cry. He reached the lower chamber, behind a sealed panel. Locked. Damaged. No time for codes. He pulled out his blaster and fired. The metal door exploded inward. He dove through the smoke just as a shot hit the wall behind him, burning a black hole in the steel. Inside the chamber, he looked for anything, any weapon, any escape. It was a storage room. Mostly dead, except there it was. An old powered exosuit, rusted, heavy, but intact. He stared at it for one heartbeat. Then placed Leah down behind a wall of crates and whispered, "Close your eyes." She obeyed without a word. He stepped into the suit. It hissed and clanked as it powered up, armor sliding into place around his arms, legs, chest. The helmet dropped down. Systems online. Shield at 40%. It would have to be enough. The wall exploded. Smoke and dust swallowed the room. Red lights flashed. The enemy stepped through. The man in the exosuit rose from the rubble, steel shoulders glowing. His voice echoed through the helmet. "You want her?" The soldiers raised their weapons. "Come get her." And then everything turned to fire and steel. The exosuit groaned under the weight of his movement, old servos whining with every step, but it held. The first enemy soldier fired sharp, burning plasma that lit the room in orange streaks. He didn't dodge. The suit took the hit, staggered, and stood its ground. He charged. The metal floor shook beneath him as he rammed into the first soldier, slamming it against the wall. Armor cracked. Sparks flew. The second one fired from behind. He turned, grabbed a crate, and hurled it like a cannonball. It struck hard, sending the attacker flying into the bulkhead. He didn't stop. Couldn't. Leah was behind the crates. Watching, the third soldier lunged with a blade. He caught the arm, twisted, and drove his armored fist into its chest. The suit groaned again, but it held. He fought like a man who had nothing left to lose, and one thing left to protect. It wasn't perfect. The suit was slow. His body hurt. He was bleeding inside it. But he stood, and they fell. Smoke hung in the room was full of ruin. He collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. The suit's systems blinked red. He pulled off the helmet. Blood dripped from his mouth. His vision swam. His chest burned with each breath. "Leah," he called, barely able to speak. She peeked from behind the crates, then ran to him. He smiled. "You okay?" He whispered. She nodded, tears in her eyes. He tried to stand but couldn't. His legs gave out. She reached for his hand, small fingers gripping his. The signal was still sending. High above the planet, in orbit now, a human ship dropped out of. Faster than light. Its hull gleamed silver, marked with the Earth crest. Sensors locked onto the signal instantly. Life signs confirmed. Inside the command deck, the captain stood. "We found them." Dropships launched. The sky burned with light. On the surface, Leah looked up. Something instinct, hope, memory made. Her step toward the broken door of the ship. Through the smoke and cold, she saw it. A fire in the sky falling toward her like a star. The human beside her coughed. He could barely speak. "You see?" he whispered. "Told you. Someone would." "Come." She turned and held his hand tighter. "Don't sleep." But he was already fading. Minutes later, boots hit the ice. Voices called. "Commander." "Sir, we have a child." Medics rushed in. One lifted Leah gently into warm arms. Another knelt beside the man. His vitals were low. His eyes barely opened. He saw the soldiers. He saw Earth on their uniforms, and he smiled one last time. The medics moved fast, working to save him. Leah didn't look away. As they lifted her onto the evac ship, she looked out at the frozen world one last time. She had no home left. No family, no past that would take her back, but Earth had come, and that meant she had a future. In the stars above, a new chapter had already begun.